come on in the room. Come one, come all, come big, come small. As you come in, give me a second because I'm going to go live on the other platform so I could talk to you guys at the same time. Okay? So give me just a second. Hello, hello, hello. Come on in the room. Happy Sunday, everybody. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Good to see each and every one of you guys. Um, I told you I was coming back last night, didn't I? Huh? I told you, girl. I said, girl, I'm coming back. I told you, I said, have your notifications on. Make sure you like and follow the page. We had a good conversation last night, and I hope that tonight is much the same. I titled tonight's video, Is This a Safe Space? Is this a safe space? So if you enjoyed last night's conversation, then hopefully tonight's conversation will be much similar. So hello, hello, hello. Hey, Miss Cassandra. Hey, everybody that's coming in. I see some of the best friends coming in. As you come in, say hi to me. I'll say hi to you. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you share the video and let me know that you are in the building. Hello, hello, hello. For those of you guys who have no idea who I am or where you may have found yourself, I am Candy Sincerity Johnson. I am one of the founders of an amazing fashion brand called Sincerity Johnson, the number one affordable luxury fashion brand in the world. We do outstanding things, and if you don't know, you should know. But outside of us being entrepreneurs, we also kind of document our lives. And this is the digital space and place that we have carved out to do so. So welcome to all of the best friends that are familiar with me, and welcome to anybody who may be new. Hey, Miss Rosalind, Miss Mary, Miss Stephanie, Miss Tanya. I seen my homegirl Kendra. Hey, shout out to you, baby. Miss Tanya. I see some more friendly faces and familiar faces in the building. What's up, Miss June? Also, shout out to anybody who may catch the video on either platform as a replay. So shout out to our amazing replay community as well. So, girl, we had a good conversation last night. And after our amazing conversation last night, I went upstairs. I put the twins to bed. Sean and I, got the kids to bed. I did my normal nightly routine. I showered. I sat in my chair in my room, and I kind of just thought about all of the things that we talked about. So I've been trying to get back into journaling. So I grabbed my notebook and I started writing. And one of the things that I remember mentioning during our conversation last night, before I get into that, let me know, because I don't know who I'm talking to. If you saw last night's video, say I was here or I saw it, whether you saw it live or you saw it as a replay. If you were here or you saw it, say I was here, I saw it, something like that, so I know who I'm talking to in the comments. If you were here last night for last night's conversation, say I was here, I saw it, whatever, so I know who I'm talking to. Hey, my homegirl Tanisha said I was here. Hey, Sandra, Miss Deidre said I was here. Okay, so I see a couple of people that said, girl, I was here. I know, I was a part of the conversation. Darnese said I saw it. Okay, so there's a couple of people who are like, girl, I was a part of the conversation. I know what you said, okay? So at some point throughout the conversation, I mentioned being afraid, okay? I said, hey, if I could be vulnerable, if I could be transparent, I think we've gotten to this point, and I think, if I'm honest, I'm afraid, right? I think it was a light bulb moment for me. So if you remember me saying that, or you remember some part of that part of the conversation, just let me know. Say, I remember in the comments. I want this to be a conversation where it flows both ways. Say, I remember. So at some point in our discussion, or while we were sitting, chit-chatting last night, at some point I had an aha moment, and I recognized that, look, I'm afraid. Like, I'm a little bit afraid. So as I sat there when I was getting ready to get in the shower, I was just like, okay, that's a natural human emotion. But one of the things that I think I'm learning or picking up in therapy is let's go deeper, right? It's okay to feel whatever you feel, but let's go deeper to unpack what's there. So I grabbed my notebook, I grabbed a pen, and I just started writing. Like in my mind, I'm like purging, and I'm like, what is it that you're afraid of? Think through, what is it that's causing you fear or anxiousness as it relates to this life transition. So I outlined some things. I put down on a piece of paper some of the things that I'm afraid of, and in that process, I think I identified something else that I had kind of mentioned to you guys. I recognize that we keep getting to this same spot. We've done this thing over and over again. We'll go through these highs in the relationship or the marriage. Things will be great, and then we go through this rough patch, which most people have, and then things will kind of be difficult for a while, and then whatever, right? And then at some point in time, things get real bad, and then we talk about separating. That was the time we got a divorce, all of the things, right? And then we go our separate ways, but then we both somehow cling back towards each other, right? Because if I'm honest, I don't think the fear is just one sided. Okay. So I outlined some things that were concerning me that I would attach the emotion of fear to. Okay. So I recognize that I need to do some work. And as I recognized that, I started to think through, okay, here we are, right? You're in this transition. You got 18 to 24 months. You guys have outlined all of what needs to be done, and you've broken it down to even like weekly goals. You're working towards those. But then when that day comes and you feel afraid, right? What is it that you're afraid of? Then I outlined that. So now I'm at the point in my life where, okay, that's fine if that's how you feel, but now let's take it a step further. What's the solution? What are some possible solutions to this? And in me thinking about it, I was just like, okay, I go back to therapy this week. I've been away from therapy for 2 weeks, actually, to be exact. I've been away from therapy for 2 weeks because the first week I was on vacation. I was in Myrtle Beach. And, of course, I wasn't going to take, no call like that while I'm on the beach or having a good time. Then the next week, which was this past Tuesday, I was available, but she wasn't available because she was going to be out of the office. So it was a thing of, okay, us just saying, let's revisit it, right? Let's revisit it. So this week I'm going to be returning. So as I was thinking about it, I was just like, girl, I don't know that the therapist that I've had thus far is who I think I need on my team to help me transition into the next phase of life. I think my therapist is really good. But if I'm transparent, a lot of our sessions are me just talking to her and it feeling like I'm just on the phone with my best friend, right? Like I'm in the office, I see that she's locked in, she's engaged in the conversation, but there's very little that I'm getting back. It's very much so like a purge session. It's like me calling y'all, having a conversation with y'all or talking to y'all about what happened and, whatever. So I'm like, at this point, I really feel like I desire a thinking partner. I desire somebody who's going to kind of help me map things out or give me suggestions or kind of give me feedback and all that. So as I was sitting there thinking through everything last night, I was like, girl, I think come Tuesday, we need to have a conversation about what I need and what I want moving forward. So I think I really, really want somebody that's going to give me tools, help me come up with even a more detailed plan, and kind of help me walk through it a little bit more than just feeling like I got a listening ear. Because I'm like, girl, you know, my insurance and I are paying you because I have a co-payment too. So I'm like, girl, my insurance and I are paying you to just kind of listen. And I'm like, girl, if I'm keeping it a buck, I could probably call my friend and get that. Like, you know, I just feel like I need more. Tamara said I just requested a different therapist for my grandson for that very reason. Exactly. And I take my hat off to her, right? I'm not gonna play like she didn't do her thing because she's been very instrumental in getting me to where I am now. But I still need more. I still desire more. So I was sitting there thinking about that. And so I did my normal nightly routine. My nightly routine consists of, the same things. I wash my face, do my skincare, process, brush my teeth, get in the shower, whatever. And like I mentioned to you guys before, oftentimes when I'm in the shower, that's my prayer time. That's my time to kind of talk to God and kind of unplug in that regard. You see what I'm saying? Um, Hold on just a second, you guys. Um, so that's kind of where I am with things, right? So so for me, it was one of those things where I was just like, okay, listen, if you're not progressing forward, she's gotten you to this point. It's time to have a conversation. After the conversation, I think I'll give it a couple of more sessions. And then if not, then I probably do need to do what Tamara said and request somebody else. So I'm in the shower last night and I'm praying about it. And I'm like, man, God, I think I'm making progress in certain areas, but there's other areas of my life where I would like to see a little bit more progress. And so, kind of similar to the conversation we were having last night, where we were talking about the different parts of a human, the emotional side, the physical side, the spiritual side, the financial side. I said, in my mind, I'm like, if you're going to go into this new phase of life, you and or Sean in some capacity probably could benefit from having people that help you in all areas, right? Almost like a team that helps you in all areas. So today I get up, right? I get up, and when I woke up this morning, Kennedy was like, Mom, can we go over to the facility, the training facility, so I could practice pitching and get some workout, get a workout and stuff in. So that's when I filmed that little quick reel and I posted on the page. I take Kennedy over to the facility and she's doing her workout. I'm with her, we're getting some stuff done. And I see one of the trainers, one of the physical trainers over there. He's a really, really handsome guy, really nice guy, very just cool dude, right? So he like, hey, what's up, Candy? We talking or whatever. And so then I was telling him I was messing with him. I said, well, I call him Coach. I said, well, Coach, I see you working and training these kids, these athletes. And I know you work with professional athletes. I know you work with all kinds of people from all walks of life. But do you work with like women that are, out of shape like me? Like, could you work with somebody like me to help me get to my goal? He took a step back and was like, absolutely. Like, I could get you together. And so he was just like, let me explain to you, I'm a professional. So he was like, I work with everybody from professional athletes to, younger athletes that are going to D1, colleges on scholarships, to people who were in severe accidents, quadriplegics. He was like, I work with everybody. And so I was like, oh, well, you the GOAT, right? So him and I are talking. And so he was asking me like some of my goals, and I was telling him some of my goals. And I said, well, if I could be honest with you, Coach, I was like, my biggest thing has been consistency, because I know how to eat better. I just don't stick with it, right? I know what to do physically. I just don't stick with it. So with all that being said, like, I need that, but then I need to go deeper, right? I can do the cardio for 60 minutes and We got the Pelotons. I could do the 60-minute class, the 90-minute class. I could do all that and keep up well. But I just have the struggle with being consistent. Once we get to the point where it's been a couple of weeks, girl, I fall off the wagon. All it takes is one thing and then boom. Like, I literally have not seriously worked out since my mom got sick. And it don't have nothing to do with my mom. It just, so I'm one of those people. It just takes one event to throw me off my square, and then I make excuses and just kind of don't get back on the bandwagon, right? And then one day becomes five, and five become 5 weeks, and so forth. So he was like, well, what's your timeline? Like, when are you interested in getting started? So I thought about it and I said, well, I'll tell you what, like, realistically, there are a couple of things that I'm paying off. And I said, they're going to be paid off in October, right? So with that being said, I'm like, we're really in September now. Like, I know it's the end of August, but you might as well say we're in September. So I was like, if you give me until October, I should be ready to go. He said, okay. He said, well, I tell you what, between now and then, you need to do a couple of things for yourself. Build a consistent workout at home. So do some cardio. Dedicate however many days you say you're going to do it and stick with it. Whether it's 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week, whatever you decide. Make sure you're keeping up with your water intake and try to shift your eating habits, even if it's gradually. Try to start making adjustments, right? So these are things that you can be doing, he said, over the next 30 or so days, so that when we get together, of course, it's starting off a little bit better than just from square one. So I was like, okay, cool, I got you. So I thought about it and I was super excited. And it's so crazy because even in that conversation, he said things and didn't even know that he was confirming stuff. Like, for example, he was just like, a lot of people don't know it. He was like, Candace, I'm telling you, like, 80% of the game is what you put in your body, is what you eat. It's not the physical stuff, it's what you put in your body. And he was like, it's crazy because as humans, we expect to think clearly, to lead, to, do all of this. We have all these demands on our body, but then we don't want to treat ourselves well by eating right and getting enough sleep and all these things. So I was like, that's true, right? So he was telling me, he was like, when we work together, it's not just going to be me putting you on the treadmill for 30 minutes, walking off, coming back to check on you, and then that's the session. He was like, I'm going to be all in your business. You're going to have a food journal. Like, it's going to be intense. Like, we're going to be doing the work. And I was just like, so I said that to say, then Kennedy and I get in the car, we come home. And I'm sitting on the couch and I'm thinking, and I'm like, you know what? All of the concerns that I have, God is going to send the right person in every area of my life. You see what I'm saying? Every area of my life, God is going to send the right person. He's going to send the right person to give me the information, either the right person or the right source. Sometimes it's not about people. Sometimes it's just about information. He's going to send me the right person, people, or source to ease all of the concerns that I have. And I was like, that's pretty dope. That's pretty dope. So yeah, I recognized just from my conversation with him that I was just like, I can't expect the other parts of me to be healthy if I'm neglecting one of the most important parts, which is the physical part. You know what I mean? I'm being extremely inconsistent with that. So yeah. So my goal over the next couple of weeks is going to be get back on the treadmill, girl. Go ahead, start drinking more water, all of those sort of things. So I'm super excited. I'm super excited about that. Monique said, I feel that way with virtual visits. It's much different than in-person appointments. In-person visits are the way for me. I need my therapist to see all of me. No, I agree. And it's crazy, Monique, that you say that because I've done every session for the past year or so. I've done it in person, except for, I want to say 2 sessions. There was two times where I did it virtual. Girl, one of the times I was doing my therapy session virtually because I needed to take my braids down that day. So, girl, look, I couldn't come into the office because I had a braid appointment the next day and I had to get my braids out. So, girl, I was on the phone with her because we don't do, when we do the virtual, we just do it like over the phone. We don't do video. So, girl, I was on the phone with her and I had her on speakerphone. I was in the bathroom taking my braids out. Girl, when I say I was half paying attention to the conversation, I was half paying attention to the conversation. And then with the weird pauses that she was doing on the phone, seemed to me like she was halfway paying attention to the conversation too. So I was like, yeah, girl, I already could tell you over there checking email, girl. And it was one of those things where I probably should have just canceled for that week because there are times when you're going through therapy, girl, there's times when you don't have nothing to talk about. Ain't nothing happen. I don't have nothing to unpack. Nothing bothered me. Like, I don't have nothing, girl. It wasn't nothing happened. Like, there's times where you just don't have nothing to talk about. And that was one of those weeks. But I didn't want to cancel. So I was like, I emailed her and was like, let's move it to virtual. So girl, we sitting on the phone and it felt like we both was filling air that day, filling space. So, you know, it's crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, but yeah. So best friends, let me know because I'm live on two different platforms. Let me know. I know we've talked about a lot of information over the past couple of days. I know different people have been popping in different times. I won't start from the beginning, but if there's any questions that anybody has, what I can do is open it up for questions. Or, you know, if there's anything that I may have said that you may need clarity on or something like that, then now is a good time to ask. Um, so yeah, let me know if anybody has any questions on either platform. Let me know. And shout out to everybody who's watching. I know I jumped on a little bit later than normal. I know I jumped on a little bit later than normal, but it's been a busy day. I wanted to get some laundry put away and I had to get the kids to bed. We were getting the kids to bed. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Candy. Candy said, I know this is off topic, but your brows are popping. Thank you very, very much. I think I got my eyebrows done like Thursday or something like that. I've been trying not to go as often because I recognize that as I'm getting older, they don't grow as thick as they used to. I used to literally go like once every week or two. So now I just kind of look in the mirror and kind of just go whenever at this point. But thank you very, very much, best friend, for your kind words. Thank you. Um, Daphne said, I haven't seen you in a while. How is your mom? Thank you for asking about mom. She's doing good. Mom is doing really, really good. After she got sick, I will say this. After she got sick, that last time, I've noticed a change with her. She's very, very serious and very, very mindful of her health. Learning that you're diabetic in your 60s, I could imagine could be a little scary, you know, and then passing out and, you know, having to be rushed to the hospital and all that is very scary. Something like that had happened to her before, but I think this time it just hit different. So when she comes over like tomorrow, she just texts actually to say that she would be here in the morning at 9 to pack orders for the business for Sincerity Johnson. But when she comes over in the morning to pack the orders, I used to see her with Dunkin' Donuts coffee and all this sugar and, you know, a breakfast sandwich, which would be bread and more sugar and all this other stuff. Well, she didn't know she was diabetic. And so she was just, in her mind, grabbing something to eat. But now that she knows what she knows, I see her making healthy choices. I see her consistently drinking water. I just see a different version of her. And it's really, really cool to see. I'm very, very proud of her. I try to tell her that all the time because I know it's not easy. I know it's not easy, but I'm very, very proud of her. And I'm proud of her choosing her health and doing what's right, not only for herself, but for us as her kids and then also her grandkids, you know. She got 6 grandbabies. So, yeah. Yeah. Kendra asked a very good question. Will you ladies remain best friends in this next chapter? That's a very good question, Kendra. I feel like we're gonna always be, right? Um, our friendship is still very strong, but it's a little bruised because at the end of the day, we started as friends. We were friends for a couple of years, and then we quickly transitioned into the romantic piece. So, of the 20 or 21 years, probably 19 of it has been romantic, and a few years has been the friendship. So, with that being said, um, you know, we have to heal still. You know, I find that we don't spend as much time together as we used to. We used to watch TV. Like Sean and I, it's three levels to the house. Girl, Sean and I would always be in the same room. Always. You know, we would literally be like, "Are you ready to go upstairs for the night?" Like we would literally move throughout the house like soldiers, like together, because we enjoyed being around each other so much. Now we still enjoy being around each other, but it looks very different. I give space because I know there's healing that has to take place for her. She gives space because she knows that there's healing that has to take place for me. Tomorrow is a prime example. I have some errands I have to run. I have to go to the city. Normally, I would ask Sean, "Hey, Sean, you want to ride with me?" You know, if it's a situation where, we're up there, we get stuck in traffic, and, the kids' bus is about to come, I'll ask mama to grab the kids. But now we just kind of move different, right? I'll go, and if there's something that I need her help with, I'll video her, and she'll stay here and kind of do some stuff for the business and run some errands and stuff like that. So we're kind of just moving in different directions, but we still miss each other. Like there's times where today is a prime example. Kennedy did something that irritated me to no end when we were at the training facility. So girl, I went downstairs in the training facility. I called Sean and said, "Girl, your daughter is getting on my nerve." I told Sean what happened. Girl, Sean and I did a powwow on the phone for about 5 minutes to talk about what Kennedy's punishment was going to be. And just like the united front that we always are, girl, I got in the car and I executed Sis's punishment with Sean on the phone. We came home, and so we're still real good friends in a lot of ways, but it's different in other ways. So I don't know. Yeah. But to answer your question, we'll be back there. It's probably going to be, a little choppy on the journey. She's still one of my best friends. She still is my best friend. She will always be. But it's just, I guess, just a little gap right now. Dolores said, "How are the kids adjusting to school? My son starts high school tomorrow." Well, congratulations to him. The kids are adjusting very well. Their views on school was very opposite. Girl, Kennedy couldn't wait. She couldn't wait. If Kennedy could have no summers off, Kennedy would go to school year round. And it's not because of the academic piece. Although she gets straight A's and she excels academically, Kennedy is a social butterfly. So, girl, Kennedy want to talk to everybody. She want to know what's going on. Girl, she just want to be in the mix. So, although she talks to a lot of her friends and teammates and stuff over the phone, her being in social environments such as school is huge for her. So she couldn't wait. Girl, Caleb didn't want to be bothered, but very similar to her. He gets straight A's. He excels academically. But girl, that man would rather he would rather be on that couch, girl. He would rather be on that couch. Caleb don't care what he wear to school. I still, that's another thing that I just did before I came live. Girl, I picked out his clothes for school tomorrow. Kennedy's the opposite, girl. Kennedy, like, I want to pick out my own outfit. I want to match my own stuff. She has her own opinion. Caleb could care less. He like, is it clean? All right, well, whatever it is, I'll put it on. Caleb don't care. So they're polar opposites when it comes to that, and it's very interesting to see. But yeah, but best of luck to your son as he transitions back to school and starts a new journey being high school. Yeah. Stephanie said, "Girl, we all struggle. You seem to have a plan. Hope your new journey with the new trainer is all you're looking for." I hope so. I hope. I mean, obviously that's something that I wouldn't start until October. But and it's so crazy because he works very closely with Kennedy's team, so it ain't like I could avoid him. Girl, I'm gonna see him a lot. And he gonna be like, your back still big. What we gonna do about it? You see what I'm saying? Like, girl, he's very much so gonna be like, okay, you still carrying that same problem. So what are we gonna do about it? You see what I mean? But yeah, and it's crazy because immediately after I talked to him, Sean was one of the first people I called. I was like, Myrtle, guess who I seen? So then we chopping it up because she knew him like I knew him. So she like, girl, I'm finna get out here, like, I'm finna get fine. She was like, I'm already, working out and doing my thing. And so she was just like, girl, like, and I was telling her, I was like, we can both. Maybe we can book him and go half on it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. So, I really think that our relationship will remain close. It's just gonna look very different because we're not getting back together. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Candy said, as long as you all can get along at the point that the kids aren't affected, I'm all for whatever decisions y'all make. Yeah, and that's what I was trying to explain. That's what I was trying to explain to the best friends yesterday. Kennedy and Caleb don't know nothing. You gotta remember, one or both of us was always up before them. So a lot of times when Sean came back to the room, you got to think about, like, Sean is usually the person who get the kids up in the morning, or she's downstairs in the kitchen cooking breakfast or something like that. So like, especially all summer, like the kids would get up 10 o'clock, girl, 10 o'clock, 10:30, everybody up and moving. They don't know who slept where. They don't know that. And I still call her Myrtle every day. You see what I'm saying? We still talking and interacting. We still no different than what we did yesterday. It's not phony or fake. It just, you're not going to be uncomfortable and miserable and all of that in your own house. She's not going to be that way in her own house. I'm not going to be that way in my own house. So it's one of those things where we understand what it is, and you get to a point of maturity and you like, girl, this ain't that. Like, we understand the assignment. Everybody know and understand what it is. And so because we knew that there was a strong possibility that it may not work, we were very mindful. We wasn't going around making no public announcements, where we wasn't taking couple pictures and engagement photo shoots, and we wasn't doing that. Ain't nobody know. Nobody knew. And so, because we didn't know which direction it was going to end up going in, and then things progressively got worse and worse and worse, then it wasn't no reason to make a public announcement or make a big deal about it. So, for the kids, from the kids' vantage point, from their perspective, nothing changes unless there are like teammates, parents from either kids' sports teams or something like that. Girl, these people still think that we're still married. Like, we never told nobody nothing different. So unless somebody happens to stumble across some content, finds a video where they hear something different, a lot of people will be like, huh? You see what I'm saying? Like, they don't nobody know anything different. We're extremely private people, and just because you decide something don't mean you got to show out and act different. And you know what I mean? Like, just because you make a decision don't mean y'all got to act a fool and be, all out in public getting into it and making a scene, and you sit on one side and I sit on the other side and we can't ride together, and like, you ain't got to do all that. That's doing too much. So, yeah. Kim said, "Are you live now, or is my phone being funny?" No, I'm live. I'm live. Candy said he's a boy. They don't care as much as girls. When he does start caring, then he'll be looking at girls and telling them that he's the man. Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that I should be enjoying this phase with Caleb because when he start really looking at girls, um everything is going to change. I've heard that from several mothers, and they say usually that happens around 8th grade, 9th grade, something like that. So girl, when I say I'm not looking forward to it, I'm not looking forward to it, because he is literally like the easiest kid in the world. Whatever you ask him to do, he do. He don't talk back. He don't give you no whole lot of trouble about nothing. When I asked him if he wanted to go school shopping with us, he said no. He said no. He said I already know you and my sister gonna be in the stores until they close their doors and kick y'all out. He said I don't want to go. Whatever you bring back, I'll wear that. I'm not even finna complain. He said I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Girl, me and Kennedy was in Burlington. We was tearing a hole in Burlington. We in Burlington. I'm in the boys section. I seen three or four. I told my mom, I said, girl, these people is crazy. I seen three or four moms on their phone, on video with their sons that was sitting on the couch telling them, yeah, I like that. No, I don't like that. I said, that ain't gonna be me. If you're going, you get a say so. If you don't want to go, you don't get no say so. You gotta wear whatever I bring back. And you better love it. And that's exactly what it was. But what you don't get to do is sit on the couch. You get to watch TV and chill out and eat snacks. But then you're gonna be picky and choosy about what I bring back for you to wear to school. No, we ain't doing that. Mm-mm. So yeah, yeah. Darnice said, "How do you feel now about the finality of your romantic relationship?" It's bittersweet. Um, Part of me, when I say bittersweet, part of me is very sad. A little part of me is angry because in my mind, if I knew it wasn't going to work, when we got a divorce back when the kids were like 3 or 4 years old, we could have just healed, dealt with the wounds, and moved forward. But there were several times where Sean asked me to stay and asked me for another chance, and we were working on things. And so a part of me just kind of feel like if this is how it was going to play out, then we would have both been better off just moving forward way back then now we would be so much further along. Meaning, she would have her place, I would have my place. We would have just been healed. And it ain't even about nobody else. It ain't about, oh, she would have found somebody, I would have found somebody. It's not about that. It's more so like when you look at all of the untangling of Charlotte's Web that we have to do, we would have already done that years ago. You see what I'm saying? And it would have probably impacted the kids a lot less. See, a lot of people are concerned or asking questions about how this is going to impact the kids or how this is impacting them. They don't feel anything different because they don't know anything different. The question is, how is it going to impact them when we actually have to live in two different places? When Sean literally has a moving truck and is moving her from here to there, that's when there's going to be impact, right? So that's why we've discussed it. We've talked about it. It's going to be a time where we have to do family therapy. Now, do we need to do weekly sessions? Probably not, but we will have to have some sort of mediation where that difficult transition, we have somebody kind of working with us through that process because they're much older now, right? So that's why I tell people what you think and what is are two different things. There's no impact to them now. None. But it will be when the 18 to 24 month timeline is up and we're where we need to be, and it's time to actually execute everything that we've been working towards. So yeah. Tamara said people think it's easy to just let it go and move on. It took me 6 years to finally let go of an ex emotionally. We've remained good friends for the past 16 years and still talk on a regular basis. Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, it's difficult. We're all we know in a lot of regards. I mean, like it's difficult. It's very, very difficult, but very, very necessary. So, um, yeah, but yeah, it's one of those things where I don't know. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy, but you get to a point in life where if certain things keep happening, you have to look in the mirror and you have to look at each other and say, is this what we're supposed to be doing? Because life and love and everything shouldn't be this hard. It shouldn't be. So you have to say, is this where we're supposed to be? Because it was never that hard years ago. It was never that hard. Everything fell in line for us. And I understand people are going to be like, well, relationships have their ups and downs. Girl, it's been down and down and down and down. So it's like, okay, at this point, either we're going to settle for the down, which nobody should do that, or we're going to cut our romantic ties. You see what I'm saying? And start working towards the friendship again. Yeah. Stephanie said, we've been here through the ups and downs with you all. We're here no matter which direction y'all take. I'm just happy you can still communicate in the best interest of the kids and the business, grown women. Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's easy for us to do that because at the end of the day, the goal never changes. It's very much so like the analogy that I gave you guys last night when I was live. Remember, I told you guys about the wolves versus the ducks, you know, and I said the ducks be around the pond, girl. They ain't got vision the first. They don't have no goal. It's just a family of people, girl. They just love each other. They be gossiping. Have you heard this? Did you hear that? Girl, they just take the day as it comes, girl. Whatever comes, whatever comes. Somebody come, one of the coyotes come and grab one of them. Girl, everybody scattered like roaches. Like they don't ain't no vision. But then when you have the wolves and it's trouble, like everybody know what the assignment is. So when it comes to Sean and I, we may not have been dancing to the same beat where we were harmonious, like we would have loved us to continue to be, but we still understand the assignment. Whether we get it right, whether we get it wrong, we still know and understand when it's time to move what the end goal is. The end goal is to make sure we're the best versions of ourselves that we could possibly be, and we're providing the best environment for those two kids that we possibly can. So if that's the goal, no matter what comes your way, then that don't change. That's why when people kept saying stuff about the kids, I'm like, you out of line and you misspeaking because there was never a time when we weren't talking, right? Even on our worst day, there was never a time where we weren't talking, or there was never a time where, anything was like that toxic. Like, girl, ain't nobody putting their hands on nobody. Like, girl, this ain't never been that. So, like, there was never a time where we weren't clear on what the assignment was. There may have been frustration, there may have been disappointment, there may have been hurt, there may have been, tears that needed to be shed at some point. But we're adults, so there's a designated space and place where you do that outside of the eyesight or the earshot of the kids. So, there's times where I've cried. I told y'all that. But girl, that's what the car is for. And that's what, my time away by myself is for. That's what happens when I'm up in the middle of the night and everybody is asleep. You know what I mean? Like that's what that's for. You have your breakdowns. It's very, very normal. You see what I'm saying? It is what it is. But at the end of the day, or your why is this happening to me? Why me moments? You have all of those things. And they may still come. You see what I'm saying? Or those feelings of anxiousness and anxiety where you be like, can I do this? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, and then you have to talk yourself through it. Yes, I can. Yes, I'm making the right decision. All fingers point that this is the right decision. When we decided that we were done, doors started opening up. When we were trying to make something work, doors started closing. That's what I'm saying. Like, when you pray for clarity and direction, you will get the very thing that you ask for. When you say out of your mouth, if there's something or somebody that's not supposed to be here, if they're not in alignment with where I'm going and what I want for my life, please remove them and move them out of my way. And then you turn around and get upset because the people that were removed were the people that you like the most. Well, like for me, I'm more committed to the goals that I have. When I said I wanted certain things out of life, I'm more committed to that than committed to the people that was in my inner circle. I love my purpose more than I love any one individual. Let me say that again. I love and I'm more committed to myself and my purpose than I ever will be to any one individual. Because your purpose connects you to why you're even here. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. And I had a conversation with Sean. We had a conversation actually a couple of weeks ago. We had a conversation, and I told her, I said, it's very interesting because I had a dream. I was telling her about this dream that I had, and I said, look, I had a dream that right after we separated, these are the things that we did. We documented the journey, we showed people what we were doing and this and that. And then almost like we became not necessarily the experts, but like the spokespeople for like blended families, blended relationships, like how to do this the right way, kind of like, right? And so we were having that conversation, and then about a day later, not even a full 24 hours later, she asked, she was like, are you sure you wanna separate? You wanna go our separate ways? And I kept thinking about it, and I was like, yeah. And then like other stuff started happening, and I was like, this is just confirmation. We're not supposed to be together. We're not supposed to be together. So yeah, yeah. When you ask for certain things, you'll get the very thing that you ask for. But then you also have to ask God to make you strong enough to handle it. You know? But yeah. Does anybody else have any other questions? Any other questions at all? Any other questions? Any other questions, best friends? Yeah. Any other questions? I think I answered everybody's question thus far. Hey, Miss Cherie. Hey, everybody that's coming on. Good to see you all. Good to see you. Well, listen, I won't keep you guys. I appreciate you joining me. I just heard the dryer stop. I appreciate you joining me. I love you guys very very much. I'm going to check with Sean. I think tomorrow we have somewhat of a light day. Kennedy has a softball game after school, but we have a pretty light day otherwise. So I'm going to see if I can grab her to join me for a video tomorrow. Um, but if you guys do have any questions, definitely put them in the comments. We read the comments, we check the comments, so definitely put them in the comments because they help me think of other things to talk about with you guys. But I love you very, very much. And as I always say, the absolute best is yet to come. But baby, I still got work to do. Good night.